I've been in Kenya now 20 years. But originally, first time I came in '96. I think that the biggest potential for income is agriculture and startups. I grew up with music all my life. Like I used to sing in a boys' choir in London as a kid when I was like 6 or 7 years old. Auntie, babe, it's cold outside. Benzie, won't you come inside? You don't have to.
Yes, from the background, you can see what I'm listening to. And guess what? I'm sitting down with Gilad Millo, the voice behind it. Hello and welcome to Globe Traction. My name is Pasil Telewa. And as you've heard and seen previously, I'm sitting down with Gilad, who shares with me so much more, including his personal life, his love for farming, and many other things. And I hope you can enjoy and get a little bit of inspiration from his story. Yeah, so many people know you as the musician. However, I'd like that today you give us, the backstory. Who are you? Where did you start from?
Yes, I'm Gilad. I'm originally from Israel.
What's your real name?
Gilad Millo.
Oh,
Gilad, that's my name.
Which is also your stage name.
Mount Gilad.
Yeah.
I've been in Kenya now 20 years. But originally, first time I came in '96, back Kitambo as a backpacker with my girlfriend, who later became my wife. I proposed after we came back from Kenya.
So after coming as a backpacker in the 90s, what got you back to Kenya again?
I came back here as I had, go through a couple of. I had a band in my 20s, and then worked in the news, and then eventually found myself accepted to the Israeli Foreign Service. My father had been a diplomat, so I grew up as a diplomat's kid all my life, moving around every 3 years from different countries. I lived in London, I lived in Germany, I lived in New York, I lived in Turkey for 5 years. I graduated high school in Turkey, in a school much like ISK, where my kids went to school here in Kenya all their lives. I graduated from a similar kind of school in Turkey, and then I came here as a young diplomat. There was the attack in Kikambala in 2002. There was an attack on Israelis and Kenyans. Obviously, many Kenyans died at the Kikambala hotel, and there was rockets fired by Al-Qaeda onto an Israeli airliner taking off from Mombasa. So I was the spokesman for the rescue teams that came here. It's like my first official thing. I'd been on TV before in Israel. I was already doing, because as much as I was a young diplomat,
you are a journalist, sort of in media.
But it's not just that. I speak English well because I grew up in international schools, and Israelis have this funny accent, right? So that helped me to get on to do interviews. So I was doing CNN, BBC, Sky. I was doing international interviews, and when the Kikambala attack happened, and they asked, who wants to go? I raised my hand, said I want to go. And found myself, walking down the stairs at Moi International Airport in the middle of the night, heading to Kikambala to do stories and interviews all day. And I remember thinking to myself, because Nairobi had been on one of the top countries that I had placed on my list. As a young cadet, they don't send you. They give you like a list of options of which countries are open for your first posting. And nice. Nairobi was, I think, in my top 3. But I didn't really know. I mean, I remember I backpacked here, right? So I already knew what it was, and I knew that it was, like a good place. I had been here before. So I remember walking down the stairs at the airport that night thinking, imagine if I get sent here, And then 2 months later, I was sent here. So it was really funny. We came back obviously from Kikambala and all, and then my first posting was here in 2003.
What did you like about Nairobi then, for it to be among your favorite places? For the past
It was
4
more
days?
like, I mean, it was more like if you look at the list, there was Russia, and there was Vietnam, and there was all these countries which I didn't really know and I wasn't sure about.
Yeah.
And I knew Kenya. I had been here. I had a good experience here, right?
Yes.
So I was like, yeah, this seems pretty interesting, but not really knowing much yet at the time about it. It's only when I was posted here that I had my, that when you get posted, they give you like a whole list of courses that you have to go through in preparation for your posting, but now not general, more specific to where you're going, okay? So in my case, I was teamed up with Arieh Oded, rest in peace. He was a former Israeli ambassador here in the 70s and wrote some books about Kenya. He was very knowledgeable. And so I was connected with him, funnily enough, to teach me some Swahili, yeah?
That's amazing.
But I didn't spend time learning Swahili because I kept asking him questions, right? Here's a man who served here, literally wrote a book about the region.
Yeah.
I just kept asking questions, he kept answering. So my time with him was less about learning Swahili and more about, tell me about Kenya. He knew Uganda. Because when you come here, it's not just to serve in Kenya. It's, in my time, it was Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, Malawi, and Seychelles. You're accredited from the embassy to all those places. I was 32, yeah?
That was a broad area.
Yeah, so you travel all those, okay, the ambassador goes to Seychelles, I went to Malawi. But, and then you have the UN. So you're accredited from here to UNEP and to Habitat, so because they're headquartered here. So it's like a full agenda of work for a young diplomat. You really get to learn, a wide variety and work in a really wide variety of areas. PR. So I'm actually, funnily enough, you deal with press, right? If you have like a visit from Israel, you have to do the media and make sure that the dignitary gets interviews and things like that. So I was actually working with the Kenyan media back in 2003, and there are literally people who are just retired now, who are people, I used to know back then, and in Kenyan media.
Yeah, having served as a deputy ambassador then, Gilead, how do you find your experience during that time and right now, and perhaps from a local's perspective, because you've been in the country for a while now?
When you talk about my Israel hat, okay, because I'm an Israeli and a Kenyan, and to me, I love both, but there's no question. Obviously, it would be kind of naive to say, I'm Kenyan 100. I've been in Kenya many years.
That is what happens when you hold,
the beauty that both countries allow, citizenships allows me the best of both worlds. On the one hand, I'm a proud, loyal Israeli and just love the country and my family. Everybody's there, right? And from this side, I'm a very proud Kenyan, and you should hear me argue on behalf of Kenyan. We had an agricultural argument, and I said to someone, the world should be standing in line to buy from Kenya produce. Not Kenya should be standing in line to buy for the world to buy. Exactly. The produce here is so good on so many levels. Pineapples, mango, that. I mean, we have agriculture on another level. The world looks to Kenya and looks at all of this kind of incredible land, which, the world has nowhere left to grow its food. The next frontier in that context is Africa. So instead of giving it away and letting them grow it here, let us grow it here for us and let the Kenyan economy grow. So in that context, I'm a very proud Kenyan nationalist, and so the mix of the two is okay. From the Israel perspective, when I was here at the embassy 20 years ago, let me say it was very different. We served in a country, it was always very clear that just Kenya, having grown up as an Israeli in different countries, you experience anti-Semitism. I did in high school. You go through, I was the only Jew in my school.
Once you mention you're Israeli or you're a Jew.
No, but in high school I was there 5 years. These are my people, right? You're growing up in high school as a teenager. But there was one time when somebody wrote in the school newspaper an article about Hitler, whatever, should have finished the job, or some crazy stuff like that, which basically means wipe out my people, right? And in Kenya, I never experienced that, ever, okay? Not as a diplomat and not working for Amiran in agriculture all those years. And in now, when I came out, very, like, obviously, I wasn't quiet about what had happened October 7th. And I wasn't, like, I didn't, it took people 2 days to start screaming pro the other side, people saying, people in Israel deserve this and things like that. And it was very up in the media when my son stopped his trip in South America to come and join the reserves and fight in Israel. And suddenly I saw another side here that I'd never seen before, which was, if you look at those 3 days when I was trending on X, on Twitter, it's like 11,000 posts. If you look at those posts, anybody who's ever claimed cyberbullying in Kenya, Aziad, Mamito, Nini, Jugush, whoever's gone through it, different people who have up and down suddenly were attacked in the media and it went up, some people more often than others. In none of those cases that I've ever seen, and I follow that kind of stuff, obviously, because I know the people, in none of those cases, I don't think anybody's ever been put through what my family and I were put through. And now I am a Kenyan, and we don't go after each other's children, and it's not something we do here. It's not in the culture. You don't do that.
And you also mentioned that your son joined the Defense Forces. How is he doing, by the way?
No, he's out now. He finished his reserves. He was there for 4 months plus. He served some time in Gaza as well. He had a hard time. It's not easy. I mean, the things he saw, I'm sure he'll take with him for life. Nobody wants their children to be in such a situation. No. My son finished his time in Kenya, graduated high school in Kenya all his life, went to Berklee College of Music from here. He's a very talented musician. The song that won Afrima for Kenya, Angel Uriel, it's me featuring him. So when they announced in Lagos on the stage, the winner for Afrima was Gilad and Millo, So he won Afrima for Kenya as well, So he went to Berklee, and then at some point he decided he wants to go back to Israel and join the army, and became a paratrooper and served his 3 years.
How big is your family? Tell me about the rest of
we come from 4 brothers, myself. I'm second in line. Our firstborn, my big brother, and then I have 2 younger brothers after me. My mom is still around. She remarried after my dad passed away.
Your own kids besides?
I have 2. I have Omer and Leah. Leah also, she just finished the army. So both of them are out now. They're done. Leah finished her regular service.
So is Shelia in Israel?
Both of them are. Both of them, at time of army, when they reached 18, both of them made the choice to go and serve. They wanted to do that. And they went through a program, it's like a lone soldiers program, where kids like ours, we're Israelis who are growing up around the world. We're in Kenya, some are in Singapore, America. They have friends from Zimbabwe, parents, where the parents are living overseas, but the kids want to grow up in Israel. So they have this program, and they bring them all together on a kibbutz, and they live like a community, and they become each other's families, but they all serve in different units.
Let's speak about Gilad, the musician now. When did you think of, I now need to come out of diplomacy and be a musician?
It wasn't like that. I grew up with music all my life. Like I used to sing in a boys' choir in London as a kid when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I still, I know all those songs, but now I've adapted those songs to my own versions. But those are like I said, psalms, and Jewish religious music. That was my first music. And then later in high school, I was with a rock band in Turkey. We formed our own band in school, and I was the lead singer, and we sang like rock and stuff like that. And then later in Jerusalem, in my 20s, I was part of a rock band which I co-founded called The White Donkey. From the place of the donkey, Messiah will come in ridden on a white donkey in Jerusalem. And then I completely quit when I went to the news. I just stopped music completely. I didn't really do it except here, there, singing in the car, you know, stuff like that, but didn't touch music at all until fast forward about 2010 here in Kenya. I was in a bar and Calabash were playing. You know Calabash? It's like one of these Kenyan bands, right? They've been around for 20 years.
I know them,
and I just asked, can I sing with you? It was just on a spur of a moment. And got up and sang, and another song and another song and another day and another day. And eventually it became a regular thing where I would just come and sing with the band. And then Wendy joined the band sometime 2012, I think, or something like that, 13. And I started singing Swahili covers, Kidum's Haturudi Nyuma, and Ali Kiba's Cinderella.
Yes, people's songs.
Songs that I connected to, and just learned to play them on guitar, learned to perform them with the band, and it became a hit thing. Like the part of the night where the Mzungu anaimba Kiswahili, you know, it just would come out like that. And the response from the crowd was great. One day, literally, not from a plan. There was never a plan, yeah? If you know me, you know there's never a plan.
You're very spontaneous.
There's God's plan, you know? Whatever's supposed to happen, happens. When you have enough coincidences and changes in your life, you stop seeing coincidence and you understand that there's a reason that things are happening. And I believe that. I'm like that. So yeah, I mean, when I wrote Unajua, I approached Wendy one night at the, you know, when we were performing, and I said, look, I wrote a song, I've recorded it, and I actually asked her to sing BGVs. And we laughed about this 1,000 times, yeah? But the next week at the same show, like on Sunday night when we came to the show, Wendy comes up and she shows me lyrics that she's written to verses. And most of them became Wendy's part of the song, yeah? But it was one of those like blessed mistakes, right? Because without Wendy, there's no song. And yeah, so and then we went and recorded, and we waited like 6 months to release because she got married and went to Holland, and she lives in Netherlands. And then we kept saying, okay, when you come back, we'll do it. We'll make a video. And she kept not coming back. And then one time when I was in the States on a conference speaking agriculture at USAID, on the way back I stopped in Holland, visited them where they live.
Is that when you did the music video?
No. When we met there, we decided, the music video you're talking about is Osiende. And that's the second song in the Netherlands. That was a few years later. That was 2016, like a year later, when I flew to Netherlands and we made Osiende there with Wendy.
So can we say Unajua was your hit song?
Still is the big. I mean, Unajua just hit 10 million views, you know, and most people will know me for that, you know, and that's, you know, that was the, without Giuliani once told me, you know, you're only ever going to need that song.
Not too long ago, you became officially a Kenyan citizen.
Yes. 2021.
How do you feel? And based on the fact that you've been here for close to 2 decades, how did that make you feel?
You know, I wanted that official stamp. that was like one of my, if you look at every list, I write out my goals, right? I write out the stuff that I want to accomplish, and I'm a list guy. If you check my notebooks, I've got lists upon lists in my phone, lists upon lists. And the top of my list has always been, for years, was I wanted to be, people saw me already as a Kenyan. The way people were treating me was, we're in Kenya, we're anywhere to, you know, I get that, it's comfortable, it's all that. And when we won Afrima, I officially represented Kenya. That was like, I brought home the awards to Kenya. So, and in the speech, I addressed, you know, this is for Kenyans, you know. So my heart and soul has been there for years. I want to be officially Kenyan, I want to be able to say that I'm that. I want to feel comfortable to speak up on behalf of things. So let me say this, I'm not yet in the game of politics, and I'm not even interested in going there. I have my own whatever opinions about different things happening, obviously. But from the place, for example, of agriculture, it's something that I believe that is the future, present future of this country. I think that the biggest potential for income is agriculture and startups, okay? So 2 different complete areas, and sometimes agricultural startups, okay? That mixes too. But the potential, if you look, think of my way of thinking. Israel is tiny. Israel is the size of Kajiado County, exactly. 22,000 square kilometers, okay? Same size as Kajiado. Kajiado has 1 million people, Israel has 9 million. Israel is 80% desert, okay?
Yeah, but it's still
desert.
Farming soil.
Sure. It's one of the biggest producers of horticulture and such to Europe, exporters, etc., etc., and also the best quality. In Israel, on the shelf, you see 12 different kinds of cherry tomatoes, big tomatoes, all invented in Israel, science and all that stuff. If you think of how much, what we did with the small greenhouses back in the day was the implementation of that. It was understanding that on a small 8 by 15 area, you can grow 5 tons of tomatoes, and we did it. We achieved it here in Kenya by the thousands, okay? Now the drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is meant to make you grow, you can grow more from less amount of land, using less water, etc. If you take that thinking and implement it here in Kenya, where Kenya is 26 times the size of Israel. If you go and search an interview I did in 2010 where I predicted that would be thousands of companies selling to small-scale farmers, we have it now. Drip irrigation, go buy, there's so many. Small-scale packaging for fertilizer, for seeds, everywhere. Agrovets selling to all the small-scale farmers. The level we've reached already. Now imagine where we can be in 5 years.
What inspired you to get into agriculture, Gilad?
I encountered it when I worked for the embassy. Remember the Kibwezi irrigation project was the biggest school of irrigation. It was an Israel USAID project, Mashav. So as deputy ambassador, I went and was involved, but mostly cutting ribbons and giving speeches, not hands in the soil. When I came to Amiran, I was the creative guy. I was the farming is cool guy. I was the Facebook, Twitter, Giuliani. That was my zone, to get the youth of Kenya to look at agribusiness and understand that it's not a dirty job. You could be the one driving the car and speaking on the phone. You don't have to be, you can give a job to somebody else who can, who can be the farmer. You're giving employment. But the point of it is it's really good business. Kenyans know that now. You've got people in poultry, you've got people in dairy, you've got people growing all different kinds of herbs. And we're not where we were 15 years ago. We're way advanced of that. Now, once you get into something and life keeps bringing you back. So when I became famous, different people choose to shine the spotlight on a different cause. Mine kind of grew, again, it just happened. A friend during COVID said, let's grow garlic. And I said, let's do it, And I went along for the ride, and it turned into something that I've learned that Kenyan garlic is the best. Not I've learned, we produce the best Kenyan garlic in the country, and Kenyans are patriotic and proud of their garlic. And let's be honest, it tastes a lot better than the imports and all that white fake color compared to our beautiful purple, pinkish, and the smell and the taste. If you come to my car, you'll see the whole car smells garlic.
One final advice to people that are looking forward to do what you're doing, music. And also there is this perception about migration to different countries and fitting in and whatever. Give an advice to those kind of people who are looking forward to starting over. Perhaps they're scared of making the first step into a different country, different cultures and all of that.
I'll tell you this. In anything you do, whether it's music, agriculture, in PR, or in your whatever your work of choice is, If you ask my kids, what was Dad's advice from the time I was growing up? What did Dad always say? Mine is be a leader, not a follower. You don't have to be in politics to be a leader. You lead your classroom of friends, you lead your group, you lead your band, you lead your football team, you lead your family. And if you want to do an agriculture project, be a leader, follow, as in chart your cost. And mine is to say, do it professionally. In anything you do, it's worth paying attention to the details. And if you're going to do something, do it seriously. Otherwise, you're passing time here. We don't have much time here. I'm 52 now, imagine. It goes by in a second. Use your time here. Make a difference, impact. It's not about how many followers you have. It's not about what kind of bling-bling you've accomplished, It's about, I used to say this back in the day, when we talked of farming is cool.
Yeah.
I would say, it's cool to help your family pay bills, pay school fees for your little sister. That to me is cool. You want me to respect you? Show that you're doing something proactive for, it ain't about us. We're not here long enough for that. You know, life's too short, and you fly by. There's a reason each and every one of us are here. What's yours?
I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you guys for coming and for you know.
You being Balozi wa Mapenzi. Sing for me my favorite tune, Unajua, and then we call this around.
Sema, mpenzi ya you been, umepotelea wapi? Umefanya nini na nani? Unajua, Ati babe, it's cold outside.
Many thanks for watching the show today. Make sure you join us again next Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Kenyan time only on KTN News. And if you have a story you'd like to share with us, please don't hesitate. Write to us through globetraction@standardmedia.co.ke or DM us on our social media platforms at Globetraction or at KTN News KE. You can also follow me on my social media platforms at Pasil Telewa on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube for more of amazing stories and many other of behind the scenes. But until then, I hope to catch up with you again soon, same time, same place. Bye-bye for now.
Yeah, sema, mpenzi ya you been, umepotelea wapi? Umefanya nini na nani? Unajua, sema aje, ati babe, it's cold outside.